and this is the episode 4. Today we have a guest, Rachel Stuve. We already learned a couple of things about her, but just to mention that recently she has been recognized as one of the top voices 2019 for the platform Data Sciences and Analytics on LinkedIn. So we will just welcome her and let's see her career journey. How did she find her passion? And she managed to be one of the leaders in the area she was passionate about. We are going to learn a lot more about the data sciences and analytics as well. So let's hear from her. So first of all, thank you, Rachel, for joining and agreeing on all the timings and being live. You are special because you are the first guest who is going to be live on my SoLeadSaturday episode podcast. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so it's my pleasure. So to start with, what we will do is till the time the audience joins, we will cover the couple of questions that we have already received from my followers, and we will cover those up, and then we will see live audience what they have to ask, and we will cover those questions as well. Is it sound good?
Yes, that works. Thank you.
Okay. So to start with, the first question is more about your current job role. What are the roles and responsibilities that you handle in your day-to-day job, and what do you do exactly?
Yeah, so I'm a director of analytics, and I started my career in programming and database reporting, and then worked into visualization and creating dashboards. And now what I'm responsible for is analytics strategy for organizations. So how can we leverage data to make better decisions, to better understand our customer, to increase our revenue, and various different roadmaps to integrate a data-driven culture within various organizations.
Oh, that sounds interesting. So I just to add to that, actually, when you say that you are more over into on the decision making side, so how much is the communication and the storytelling takes the importance when it comes to showcasing your decision, what you come up with, or the conclusion?
Yeah, storytelling and communication is extremely important. I personally put communication as one of the top 3 skills for a data analyst or a data scientist, because most of the people that are needing to use the data to make decisions don't have a extreme data science background. And so it's extremely important in what I do and for other data scientists to be able to explain in simple terms how the data can be used to determine what's going on in an organization, and also extrapolate that into various decisions and what the outcome of those decisions could be. And most of the time, it has to be very concise communication as well. Because people that are decision makers and leaders in organizations need to get this information quickly and make these decisions quickly. So what I do and what data scientists, absolutely communication and storytelling is really the power of what we do.
Yeah. So the way you are talking, it really shows your passion about this data science and analytics field. So one important question that I would like to ask is how did you find your passion or the interest that you are interested into the data analytics and want to pursue your career in that?
Yeah, so I've always kind of been a tinkerer and a problem solver with various things and liking to put things together. And so that's naturally how I gravitated my education. And at the time, technology was very quick and changing. And so that really attracted me to the field where I could constantly be learning, constantly be solving problems, And I really love the people side of it too. So analytics and data science is still a very technical field within IT, but it also is a very human field. And so it attracted me that I could take technology, but also really blend that with the human side.
Yeah. So that really actually I can admire for. So what steps, actually particular steps did you take to pursue that passion and achieve that leadership role in the one of the areas you are passionate about?
What are some of the other areas of leadership?
Not some of the other areas, like what steps did you take? Like once you realize your passion, what steps did you take, like, to
Oh,
be
yes,
of one
of
of the
course.
areas you are passionate about?
Okay. Yeah, so I started out in programming to have a really good base and understanding of the technical side. So learning SQL, Python, R, SAS, all that technology, I started programming that so I could really understand how that all worked together. And then once I had that base, that's when I started learning some of the visualization tools. Such as Tableau. There's a great tool by information builders called Web Focus. There's Power BI. So all these visualization tools that could sit on top of the base of that code. And once I had that base of technology and technology understanding, that's when I started getting into the business analyst side and interfacing with customers to really understand their problems and understand how to communicate solutions to them. And then as my career has progressed, I've managed teams, I've hired data scientists, and now sitting on the strategy side of, now that we understand the technology and the customer problem, how do we combine those two to make a solution?
Okay, that sounds fascinating. So I'm also working like in similar kind of areas, so I can relate that. So talking about specific to data sciences and analytics, actually, any kind of a statistical methods that you would like, encourage people to learn about, and those are your favorites too in the data analysis.
Yeah. Yeah, so one of my favorite statistical methods is the Bayesian method, because the base of that method is taking some assumptions and some data and looking at that and kind of slicing your data, and then adding on additional insight or additional things that you know, and re-slicing your conclusions. And I really like that method because it is very much in line with human thought. So we'll make a decision, and then we learn something of what worked, what didn't work, or another factor that may affect that. And then we recycle our plan, recycle our thoughts. So it's a very agile way of thinking, and that's one of my favorite statistical methods.
Oh, that sounds good. Definitely the audience will like that, actually. They will learn. Might be students who are pursuing their passion, or they're learning right now in the academics. They can definitely relate that guidance. So talking more about this data sciences and analytics, already you mentioned you prefer the tools like Power BI or Tableau. How much they simplify your job, visualizing the data, like when it comes to showing the story, visualizing something out of it, and then showcasing it to the business people or the audience. How much that is helpful? Like, why do you think that those platforms are important when it comes to the storytelling?
Yeah, I think so. Most people are visual learners, especially when it's a very complicated topic or it spans a lot of data, or they're not inherently familiar with that data. So for example, data across different departments.
Mm-hmm.
And so some of the reasons that I really like the visualization tools is because visualizations can very quickly break down complicated data sets or very large data sets
Mm-hmm.
and have a very quick insight for business leaders and people making decisions. So I love Tableau. It's a very popular platform. But there are others. Yeah, Power BI is great. Salesforce has a product, which we'll see how that evolves with the merger with Tableau. But there's the visualizations I really like just because they speak very quickly and powerfully if they're done properly to business leaders.
Okay. Thank you for that. So that is like really useful insights for understanding, how these data visualization platforms can help people to understand the data more. It might be more simplified way of, understanding it on the non-technical level as well, I guess, because it is more interactive. So definitely that is a useful insight. So moving forward, it is like when we are talking a lot more about these buzzwords around, right? Like it is a lot more boom when we talk about data sciences, analytics, or machine learning. How it is different from the real situations when we handle the data in the organizations, or when it comes to the academics, we learn something. How we can differentiate that? How much is this the boom and it is away from the real scenarios? Like.
Well, data quality is a big issue. There's a lot of organizations that have been storing data for a long time and using it for decisions. But the data quality is really key, because if the data quality is poor, or it's not refreshed, or it's not input from various departments, the insight that can be gained isn't necessarily valuable. So it's a very, very real world issue that organizations are dealing with, is really master data management, really understanding the data. And the really interesting part about that is that's so fundamental to what data science is. But it's also an area that is a big challenge for data scientists, because when you make a visualization, it's very real. Business users can see it, they see the value. But you can spend months doing data quality and data cleansing, and you don't really see anything from that. And so it can be a challenge when you're undertaking a very integral task, but there's not necessarily a very visual output in that sense.
Yeah, that I can also relate actually while working with the data. So you work right now in the healthcare data, is that true? Like,
yes.
So how interesting it is? Like, do you find it complicated to get the insights, or is it like to have the data in place is the first challenge? Then you can work on the quality of the data. Like, what is the real challenge, like major challenge?
Yeah, healthcare. So healthcare is a very interesting field for many reasons. So there's an extreme amount of data protection and data security in the healthcare field that is not present in some other fields. So that is the first challenge with healthcare analytics, is to really consider security, de-identification, health information. It's some of the most protected data that any organization can work with. So that is a unique challenge to healthcare. Regarding the data, healthcare data is also very complicated, and it comes from multiple different sources. So there's a lot of tasks that need to be undertaken to really map that data and match that data. So you'll have different data types, different metadata, different sources or incomplete data. And that definitely provides a challenge. And one of the things that I love about healthcare, which is both exciting and a challenge, is the healthcare field is really on a cusp of technology. So there's a lot of old architecture and infrastructure within the healthcare field that is still present. People are actively using that. But there's also a lot of opportunity for very new, very cutting edge technology. And so healthcare is at a very interesting point between intersection of that legacy data, the legacy systems, the kind of the legacy processes, and all of these new advancements in data science, data analytics, even just the different software platforms. So that definitely provides a very unique challenge from a data perspective, but it also provides a really great opportunity to really impact the business, impact the organizations, and continue to learn as a professional.
Yeah. I worked for a couple of months actually in healthcare. So my first challenge was always like, finding the data at one place, like how much you can control on that to handle the quality of the data. So that's important actually, useful one. So when we talk about this data analytics, actually, how do you see the future is evolving? Like, what would be the future of this data analytics?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's a lot of organizations that are really starting out their journey. And so master data management and data cleansing is a big part of the industry right now. And really building out data warehouses, data lakes, different data sources to have everything all in one place. So I definitely think that in 2020, there seems to be a very big push for let's build out our data infrastructure so that we can actually leverage that to make decisions and to consolidate all of this disparate decision making around organizations. So I see that as really a fundamental area that organizations are looking. And then there's also a lot of organizations that are really starting to push the limits of analytics and trending and getting into more complicated algorithms such as machine learning algorithms. So the organizations that do have had a good data governance policy are starting to push into those other areas. So for this year, I see that focus for data science professionals on both of, yes, building out the advanced algorithms, but also really looking at consolidating, cleaning the data, managing that as a fundamental base for really propelling the trajectory of their analytics program.
Oh, okay. Sounds interesting actually. So actually I have seen lots of people are like, even though they are in the software engineering or they are in the other areas of the business, they are like so much attracted towards this data sciences and analytics. Whenever they see these things, they are like, very curious to learn actually. So that I can see a lot more people are interested about it. But yeah, I'm also like very excited to see where the future is leading for this particular thing. So actually I can't see the engagement on the live, but what we can do is we can cover a couple more questions from the list that we already have. So is that okay with you?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'll just check what we can cover. Which we already have. So yeah, there is one more very important question is that, there is a very narrow silver line between these words, data mining, data analysis, and data profiling. So do you have any kind of a differentiation when it comes to these keywords, or comes to like, handling these different phases?
Yeah, so data profiling, in my definition, is really understanding what data that you have and what format it's in and where the potential quality issues may be. So a lot of the tools that are on the market today and are popular do really help with data profiling. One of my favorite tools, MongoDB, is an application that I think does a great job with helping to profile data. Another great tool that helps with that is Alteryx. I think that's a great tool as well for people to learn, that really helps with understanding the nature of your data. Once you have that, you can start going into data mining of, okay, I understand my data. Now let me really dig in and look at the relationships between the data. Let me look at other data that I could bring in to help make decisions. So really digging into that very deeply of starting to understand how to leverage that. And then with data analytics, that's kind of the top of that process, by which now that we understand our data and that we know how we could leverage it, let's start really looking at the patterns. Let's look at trending. Let's look at how could we leverage that for a decision. And if we moved in this direction, can we now predict what would happen? And so analytics is really that knowledge that comes from the data mining, which is the base of, you really have to understand data profiling. So they're all kind of related.
Oh, okay. Good to know. So one more question is more about, as we already talked about data quality, right? So is there any specific approach that you follow when it comes to, improving the data quality, like when it comes to data cleansing or missing data handling? What is your best approach when it comes to the data?
Sure. Yeah, data cleansing is an ongoing process. Every organization has really is constantly data cleansing. So a lot of the approach that I take with the data cleansing is first really understanding the upstream and the downstream pipeline of the data. So I need to understand where it's coming from. So who's creating it? How often is that refreshed? Where does that have any dependencies? Are there definitions or different calculations in the data that need to be considered, especially across organizations? In one of my past roles, we had an initiative to really look at how do we define a member of our service. And so some groups would have a definition of how they define a member, and other groups would have a different definition. And so when they each did their analytics, the numbers never matched. And so part of data cleansing and data quality and management is making sure that there's consistency in those definitions across the organization. And if there is business reasons for variance, that is very clearly communicated and very clearly understood. So that when people talk about those differences, they have an understanding of how they got to that difference. There's some great tools that help with the data cleansing and the data management too as well. But I think that the biggest thing is really understanding, one, that it's an ongoing process, and two, really how that data fits into your organization ecosystem.
Yeah. And suppose like domain is new to you, right? it might be possible that you are handling the different domain data. Maybe it is a healthcare, it is maybe the banking, finance, or it may be media or entertainment. um, how do you look for it? Like, how much domain knowledge do you need to actually deal with the data? Is it like you require the domain expertise, or along the doing the data cleansing or something, you can learn it along the different phases of data modeling?
Yeah, I've worked across a lot of different domains, and for me, the fundamental understanding of where data comes from, how people use it, and the statistical methods to analyze it are really the most important thing. The domain knowledge does help for the nuances and to really help the business to apply that. But I've been able, and I've worked with many people that have been able to quickly get up to speed on the domain knowledge when they have that understanding of data. So I think the domain knowledge is important, but I think having an understanding of data management concepts is what's going to help a new person or a new data scientist get up to speed much quicker.
Okay, that is really. I think students are going to be, going to like that answer, because they must be wondering about when they look for the job opportunities. They always think about, which area they want to get into when they are pursuing their career. So thank you so much. And moving forward, actually, to the next question is more about why this podcast stands for, like, understanding the passion and how the person leads that particular passion. So how would you like to describe your leadership style?
Yeah, my leadership style personally is very much inspiration and kind of innovation. I'm very much a leader that I believe in data democratization and empowering the users. So with my team, I work to give them the tools that they need to succeed. I'm very much a believer that you surround yourself with people that are good at the things that you're not good at. And that's really the magic and the power of a team. So for me, I very much foster training and communication and playing. One of my favorite things that I did with a past team is what I called innovation time. And I kind of stole the idea from Jeff Bezos at Amazon, so I won't take full credit for it. But what I did was I allowed my team a period of time every month to spend just investigating or learning something that wasn't directly related to their role. So whether it was a new technology or learning a different area of the company or some kind of training. And it was actually so amazing because all of the team members would do these different things outside of their role. And it opened up all of these ideas about different ways to do things or different perspectives that really helped our team to innovate processes and solutions that I am very certain we would not have had the idea for that if we didn't spend that time expanding our viewpoint in our horizon.
Okay, yeah, that definitely, I feel like you are kind of a leader who likes to, learn and mentor the team as well. Like whenever there are new challenges or the new technologies involved, you would be like more encouraging to attend trainings and mentor as well to them what is happening. So that's great. That is a good leadership style, I feel, to being a mentor to the team and always like inspirational. So the last question to end up this podcast, actually, I would like to ask is, what is the advice actually you would like to give to the people who are actually right now in the career of data science or analytics? So they are already doing their job, and there are students who are already pursuing their career in this particular area. So what kind of a piece of advice you would like to give them to build their proper career in the proper shape?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the advice that I have is for people that are new in their career or they're thinking about making a shift, take a look at the types of analytical skills and the problem solving that you've done over your career and apply that to an analytics field or a new career. Some of the best people that I've hired have had not as strong of an analytics career, but they were amazing problem solvers. They were very good at communicating. And so that is something that will really help propel an analytics career, is the ability to sit and think critically about a problem and then be able to communicate that. So I definitely, when doing resumes or looking for roles, really emphasize the problem solving and that communication and that analytical thinking, because I've found that those are the skills that really help in the real world of business. Can you look at something that is a little vague or incomplete and put those pieces together to recommend a solution?
Okay, yeah, that is really great advice, actually, for me also something to learn. So I would appreciate actually your time to be there on Saturday, and thank you so much for everything. You are going to be always special because this is my first live podcast episode. So I always gonna remember you. So thank you so much for your advice and how one can pursue their passion and build their career and take the leaderships in that particular area they are interested in. So thank you so much for making it, and hope to see you again around. We are already connected on LinkedIn.
Yes.
So thank you so much. So
yes, definitely. Thank you so much for having me. This has been so amazing to be the first live podcast, but also really interact with your network and your community. So I definitely would love to be back. And thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, sure. Sounds good. So what am I going to do now is I'll publish this recording as well as the live podcast, and then I will provide the links so that people who wants to follow you and come to you, for the guidance, they can connect to you directly on the LinkedIn, which is one of the professional platform we have. So looking forward to that, and I will post it soon. So thank you so much once again, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. You too. Thank you.